Okay, continuing on with our video series, we are looking at the imported car demo from MyListing. With the hero page here, on the landing page of the home page, it looks, you drop a big background image in there, put the search form in there, and you think, okay, it looks pretty modern, right? Scroll on down, you start to see pretty quickly that everything is super basic. A lot of stuff is missing. If we go over to the Explorer page, we've got the core functionality in here, but again, super basic. If we go to listings, they look okay, but they can be improved. Super basic stuff. The more important thing here is, excuse me, the core pages that are missing. So of the ones that are there, though, we've got a blog, super basic, right? So you have to set up, this is what you have to live with unless you are good with CSS. Or you find another way to create your templates. All right. Same thing with shop page. Super basic. Add a listing page. This one isn't the end of the world, but we can do better stuff. I think we're not going to be able to do a whole lot because, again, we are only going to work with free tools. We're going to work with what we have. Okay, so that's that page. And then we go in here. That's our pricing tables, super basic, but it's clean. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. In the back end, it's okay. Not the end of the world. Again, you need CSS to style this stuff. And because we're sticking within the free tools that we can work with to make the stuff do what we need it to. But yeah, just super basic to get you going. You're going to have a lot of work to do once you get this demo in place. Again, that's why I recommend starter site, and just so you don't have to deal with all this, making this what you need it to be. Okay. All right. So one of the things I promised was peeling back the curtain. So let's go to pages, and let's then go to the home page. Okay, so right off the bat, we have a lot of people. Another reason I wanted to do these videos is because I am seeing people still struggle with basic design using Elementor. Okay. Using way too many, let's pretend they've even got to the point where they're using containers and grids in the more modern way of building. They're still using too many containers, too many grids, using grids in places they shouldn't use grids, containers in places they shouldn't use containers, not naming their sections. So like right here, see, it's just all section, not naming those properly. So it's easy to manage in the future. People are still struggling. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video series too. Okay, so I would get very familiar with the navigator. That's what I'm telling clients these days. Get really familiar with this navigator. It's your best friend, okay? Drag that over to the right, pin that to the right. Again, we have sections here and columns. This is now almost 3 years old way of doing things. It's outdated. It should no longer be practiced, but all of the MyListing demos are built this way. Okay, so what we want to do here is highlight this first section, and then we want to, well, actually we can't even convert this to containers. So we need to go back over into our Elementor settings. So Elementor settings, we need to go to features, and we need to enable containers. So what I typically do on sites is I deactivate all of the Elementor experiments and features and only turn on the ones that I absolutely need. Okay, so we're going to turn on containers and only the things that we're going to do design with, right? We don't worry about optimization in this video, nothing like that. Okay, so let's do that. Save our changes. Okay, so now let's go back and refresh our homepage. Let's highlight that first section. Let's go ahead and convert it. So you'll see a button right here on the right. You can also convert the whole page if you want to do that in one shot. So you come down here, click on this little settings cog in the far bottom left, and choose convert. And that will convert the whole page because we're under page settings. Okay, before we do that, let's name our sections. So let's name this first section. We'll just call it Hero. And then let's click in the second section. We'll call this Explore by car, explore by type of car. Okay. Next one down is cars. Obviously, this can be whatever you want to call it. Okay. I'm just matching up what they have for headings here. Okay. The next one down is, let's call this one our company. We'll call this company statement. Okay. And then the next one down is our footer. Okay. And that is like the worst footer I've ever seen in my life. So we're not even going to entertain that. We're just going to actually delete that one. Gone. Okay. All right. We may end up deleting some more stuff here, but we'll see what we can do with the footer. The footer's really challenging. Unless you use Elementor Pro, it's challenging. Okay. So let's go ahead and update this page. Now let's go to the settings cog in the far bottom left. Now let's convert the whole page. Okay, so now we see that it went and it duplicated everything for us, but now it created containers, the right way of doing things. So now we can delete the old sections, or you can keep them around until you feel comfortable with what you've done with the container-based version. Okay, totally up to you how you want to do that. So I'm just gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna, you know what? We'll keep that. We'll keep the old in place, and we'll just make sure they match up. How about that? All right. Let's do the hero container first. Let's drill down in here. So we have the hero, and then we have two containers. That's perfect. That's exactly how it should be. If we expand the original, we've got column and column. Okay, cool. Okay, so working within the new, we've got our structure just as we want it to be. So and it looks good. So I don't see any reason to keep the old around at this point. So let's get rid of that. Let's then move down to this section. Okay, so here's the old. Here's the new. We've got all of our same elements in there. We expand both of these. Yep, it all matches up. It all looks, I mean, they're the same, right? So let's get rid of the old. No reason to keep the old there. Let's move on down. Let's just keep repeating the process. Yep, looks exactly the same. Get rid of that. Move down to the next one. Yep, looks exactly the same. So there's no reason this stuff shouldn't be converted, especially in the demos where there's not that many pages. Like this wouldn't take that long at all. Okay, cars for sale, company statement. There we go. We are 100% converted on the home page to containers. And drilling down through these, we don't have any more containers than we need. I don't think. Actually, let's review this. The top hero is fine. Let's explore this. We want to limit the amount of elements we put on a page. So here we've got a container, and then we have another container, but we don't need that. Okay, so I'm just going to click on heading here. That's over here in the navigator. I'm going to drag that right up into the main container. All right, and then I'm going to grab the listing categories, and I'm going to do the same there. Okay, but then we say, okay, Ryan, but these are broken. They're side by side. Doesn't look right. Okay, go back to that main container, and we're going to change the flow of that container. So we go into the layout tab, which we're already in by default. And instead of doing direction with a row, so horizontal, we're just going to click vertical. There we go. See? So now we've got everything we need in there. We have this empty container that we no longer need. So that's an Elementor. When you add any element to a page, you're adding multiple lines of code. So just by doing that, deleting that old container, we're reduced down to one container. Much easier to manage. We have these categories here. So let's actually select some real categories. So that's sedan. Let's keep going here. Sedan, sports car, and SUV. There we go. Okay, so we've got our categories in there. And so that section is good. Okay, we'll go ahead and update our page just in case we lose our internet connection. We don't want to lose our changes, or in case we need to roll back, undo some things. But that looks good. Okay, so let's move down to cars for sale and let's do the same thing. Expand it in the navigator. We've got the same issue. Okay, let's just move everything up a level. Let's change that container direction from horizontal to column. So in other words, point down. Get rid of that old container. Boom, looks good. Save our changes. Let's go down to the last section, if you will. And we've got multiple things going on here. Look at all these containers. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. So we've got the top level container. You see this here when you start looking at it, like the trouble that you can get into with both just conflicts, design, and trying to optimize this. It's not good. Okay, so let's see how far we can get this down. I don't see why we can't just, again, one container. So let's go drag heading up. Let's actually first go back to the parent container. Let's set the direction to where we need it to be so it just looks good from the start. Okay, so we're, again, change from horizontal to vertical. Let's start moving those elements up. Okay, now we got container, 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 and then a button. Let's move that all the way up. Okay, container, 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 client slider. Let's move that all the way up. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3 containers we got rid of. Everything is lined up. Everything is looking good. Let's update our page to save our changes. Let's go in here. And how did they do this? Let's just get rid of all of those. Client slider. Let's just do, because I'm gonna productize this, right? So we'll just call this client 1. And let's put an image in here. A logo. We will use just the placeholder because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a placeholder image. So I will put my own placeholder images in this. Okay, and then, so client slider, and let's just duplicate this slide a couple times. Client 1, client 2, client 3. And guys, tip here, if you're already using an image optimization plugin, do not install this plugin. Okay, so word to the wise. If you want to use Elementor's image optimization plugin, fine. If you're hosting with me in the club and Keensta, you don't need that plugin. Okay, but I recommend Short Pixel anyway if you're going to go the plugin route. But totally up to you what you want to do there. But just make sure you're not installing duplicate image optimization plugins, whatever you do. Okay, client slider widget. Let's go to styling here. All right, that's all fine. That's all fine for now. I'm not sure why they're showing us 5 images if we've only got 3 clients. So I'm going to save this, refresh the page. Yeah, that's really strange. I wouldn't, yeah, I don't know why that's in there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. That is what it is, but let's go back to let's go back to the top here. Okay, the next thing we want to look at is we go into these containers. It's fine. It's fine. It's for the purposes of this. I'm going to put a placeholder image on this when I make this available on the club website. My own personal thing is find cars for sale or rent. Actually, let's look at how they do it. See, find cars. That's not how they do it, is it? Let's look at this. MyListing. Find cars sale and rent. Okay. We'll just put it in. I'll put in what I'm going to put in here. No, we'll just find cars for sale or rent. And then down here, I like to use this tool called Title Case. It's free. I don't have the exact link. Let me pull it up on my other screen here. Title Capitalize. So it's called titlecapitalize.com. I like to use this tool. Like I said, it's free. And then go over here and grab your, whatever your title is, plop that in there, and you can choose like title case, which is what I use the most, or lowercase or uppercase, whatever, or hyphen. So you grab that, punch that in. There we go. Find cars for sale or rent. Locate the best cars. You know what? I don't, just for the sake of the brevity, shortness of these videos and whatnot, I'll come back and I'll do something else, but I'll change all of this behind the scenes. There's no need to keep you guys on here. So I'll just put something like this in there for now. You get the idea. Looking at these headings, they are fine. H1, this one's an H1. This one's 2, just plain text actually. Okay. One of the other problems is if we look at the style tab for this, they are hard coding. Yeah, this is why we're doing this. They are hard coding the font size in here. Okay. They're not using global fonts. So let's pretend you want consistency. You want your H1s to all have a certain font size or style. Okay. So they're coming in here and they are manually assigning a font size to this instead of using global. All right. So let's go ahead and save this. And I'm going to add these to the, well, I'll have to think about how I'm going to do that. But the moral of the story is you want to use the global fonts. And I've got guides and videos on this, especially if you go and you check out the starter site documentation, the build notes that I have. But what you want to do is you want to come in here and you want to do global fonts. Okay. Set your fonts up here. And then that way, if you ever want to make a change to one, you make it here and then it goes all throughout your site and makes the change. Long story short, we should not be, let's get this out here. We should not be manually assigning sizes of fonts this way. It's not sustainable, scalable, manageable. It's none of those things. All right. This text editor here, we are manually assigning a value. Like you shouldn't, okay? Should go over into your global settings and do that. Okay, so that's another problem. And you think about, you're gonna have to go through all of these. All of these are gonna be like that, okay? It's not scalable, it's not maintainable, all of that sort of thing. This isn't so bad. I can live with this. I would rather, just because it depends on your skill level, but I would probably go, instead of using short codes, just go with the basic search form. This is especially useful for those that aren't, are new to MyListing, but just go in here, choose your 2 listing types. So we're going to do for sale, and we're going to do another one for rent. There we go. Just like that fast, you replicated the same thing. You don't need to mess with short codes. So in the future, it's easier to change this stuff without, going to find the short codes, editing the short code, coming back here, pasting in the new short code, that sort of thing. All right, so I'm going to delete this old one. There we go. Go ahead and update that. And I like this look better anyway, where you've got those transparent tabs. Okay, so that might be enough for this section. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single detail, because once I get off these videos, I'm going to go and put my spin even more to really clean up the design. My main thing is the high level is to show you guys the problems and how we're going to fix them. So here in the hero, again, if we look at there's something else I wanted to look. Oh, the image. So the background image. So select the main container. So hero in this case, go to style. Here's our image. Okay, this actually looks okay. If you're going to use the image from the demo, the thing you got to be really careful about. So let's go find this image, which should be this one right here. They're using a JPEG, and it's a huge JPEG. So you want to optimize this image. What you really want to do is you want to, I'll show you exactly what you should do. You want to use this website. If you don't need to resize the image, this is the site I use. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this one here. Okay, again, if you don't need to resize, this is the website I use. If you do need to resize an image, this is the website I use. Okay, we'll go ahead and bookmark this one too. Okay, most of the time you can just get by with this, but it just depends on your needs. So again, we're going to come here, library. We're going to download this file. Let's just save it to our computer. You want to give it a SEO optimized name. I will do that later for this starter site. So we'll just put that right back in there. Then we want to upload this to Squish. And you want to use the default WebP in a lot of cases. However, if you're doing it in a situation where the page, the post, whatever, isn't likely going to be shared on social media, you can get by with using AVIF, which is the latest, greatest image compression available that is compatible across all browsers. Because we're talking about a homepage here, this is going to be shared on the web. It's going to be shared in social media. So you want to have an image optimization format that works across all of those. So for that, we need WebP. So we're going to choose WebP, which is the default. We're going to select that image we just saved. And we just went from 315K down to 232. So that tells me that the image size might be a little bigger than it needs to be. So for that, let's try it out. Let's go to Squish. Let's pull in our image. We want to go to this resize option right there. Yeah, and we see it doesn't need to be that big. 1920 is fine for the width. We'll just keep the height as it is. We can change, while we're in here, we can go ahead and change the compression down to WebP. And we got it down even further. We got it down to 164. That's still huge. But you can adjust like the quality here. So for example, if you want to like dial down the quality and really get this thing small, you just find the size that you can live with, the quality. And the other trick that you can do is, let's say we knock this all the way down. Let's go to like 20%. And this gives you like the before and the after. So if that looks close enough for you, then imagine the savings. Now, a trick that you can do is once you get the image in over here, you can apply an overlay. So go to background overlay and apply an overlay to it. And that hides imperfections in the image, so that allows you to get even more compressed images in there. Okay. So it's totally up to you what you want to do there, but let's knock this thing all the way down. I'm going to put placeholder images on this anyway for the Canvas starter site, but you get the idea. So knock this all the way down. WebP, we saved 85%. Now we bring that image in. Save our changes. And because we have that overlay, MyListing already, applied that overlay, it's going to be really hard for somebody to see, the imperfections. All right. And the other thing too is you can kind of see here. So maybe I wouldn't go that far compression, but you see what I'm saying. You just work with it. You want that homepage, that landing page, that hero to load as fast as possible. Okay. So find that balance between performance and design. People aren't going to stay on here very long anyway. They're going to go here, search, and go off anyway. So make that decision for yourself. The other thing I want to point out here is the use of colors. All right, so let's click on the heading. We see that they're applying a text color of white. We're in that situation again. What if you needed to change all of your H1s or all of your headings colors across the board. This should be using global colors. All right. So if we go into our site settings, global colors, we set all of that up here. All right. I'm going to conversely show you how Canvas looks in this area. Let's go back. Let me open that back up. There we go. Okay. So here is the demo, what you're going to get. Okay. So this is what Canvas looks like. Let's go to pages. There's not, you know what? Let me open up a different page. Let's do affiliate program. So you see when you click on colors here and you go to style, or sorry, the heading, and then you go to styles, you'll see that the color is assigned to canvas black. All right. Now, if you go and you go to site settings, global colors, you'll see everything is defined here, ready to go for you. So let's say that let's look at, let's say we wanted to change our headings, right, across the board, wherever that, or later on we find out that canvas black needs to be a different shade of black or whatever the heck we want to call it. You can rename it. It's not going to even matter. You can rename this to whatever you want. Canvas blue if you want. But let's say you want to change that shade of black. You could come in here and just change it here, and it changes it everywhere. Anywhere that canvas black is used, it's changed. Let's say you get the starter site and you come in here and you say, I want the accent color, this blue. Same thing. If you want to change, and I've done videos on this, change it to red or a different shade of blue. It's going to change it everywhere that it's used. Conversely, with MyListing, you now have to go in the demos, I should say, not MyListing. The demos, you need to go in here to each of those elements. If you were to change the shade of black you're using with this site or the shade of white, you got to go into each of these elements and change it. Because this isn't using global, you can't overwrite this. You have to go in manually into each and every single one of these elements to change the color. Nothing is set globally for you. It's all manual. So even if I were to go in and change my color of black here to blue, it's not gonna have any impact. You got it, because this is overwriting it as a manual thing here. Okay, so that's what I want to point out there. I will take care of all of that before I make this available as a product. But again, just pointing stuff out, and it's everything. Looking at the background of this section, go to style. It's manually set, so you got to go in there and set that. All right, let's look at and the fonts and all of that stuff, everything. It's just, you think when you get the demos that you have saved yourself time. You have not. I promise you. I promise you. And money. I promise you, you have not. Okay, here's our categories. So we need images for those, right? Just to kind of just to give you guys an idea of what those will look like. So for that, if we go to listings and then categories for the compact car, let's go ahead. So they actually have images there. That's interesting. I wonder why that's not coming over. That's interesting. That should come over and show. Let's go here. That's interesting. All right, let's try let's try setting those again. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's go look at their main demo here. Oh, I see what they did here. Okay, so the car images are supposed to be small like that. Let's see. So the only thing we changed, because of the image. Okay, so maybe the images didn't come over during the import. Here we go. We need the ones with the white background. So they did, yeah, okay. So compact. All right, let's try that. We just had the wrong image. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So something to keep in mind when you do the demo, maybe the images get unassigned and you need to reassign, or it could also be when I converted the sections and columns over to the containers. Maybe it got lost there. I didn't really pay attention, but there you go. I'll fix all of that. I'm still debating on whether I want to put placeholder images and all of this like I have for the rest of the starter site, or how I want to go about it. But let me think through it, because the reality of the situation is that people are going to come in here. You're going to change this car image most likely. You're probably going to change these, maybe not. So I have to think through that. Okay, and think about how if we want to modernize these differently. Okay, moving on to the cars. Let's see. Yeah, the other thing that's weird, like if you look here at the headings, I'm not sure why you shouldn't be putting margin like that. It should be padding instead of margin. So we don't even actually need it in that case. So let's remove that. And then clicking into this listing categories widget. I'm not sure why they're adjusting the margins and stuff when they don't need to. Why would you put 0 in there? Okay. So you just cleaning up just simple stuff like that. Like there's just no need. Every time that you call a setting, like you adjust a setting, that's just your software has to work. Your server has to work to output that. So why configure things that don't apply? Same here. Okay, let's just copy. So right click on this heading. Let's copy it. Let's paste the style here just to get rid of the margin from that one. Let's look at this widget, see what's in here. Okay, that one looks okay for now. Let's go down here. Let's check out this heading. Check out this button. All right, so you see how sometimes they use margin, sometimes they use padding. In this case, they actually got it right. There's other ways you can do that too, but that's okay for now. Let's go into this widget. Yeah, see, we're doing it again, margin. You don't need that. Take that out. Let's go ahead and save our changes. And let's look at this widget, see what's in here. Okay. All right, let's check out mobile. Let's see what they're doing for their padding and stuff. So I'm clicking on hero, going into the advanced tab of the container, and we see, okay, that looks good. So you want to have that padding of 20 on the left and the right. Let's check out this section. Okay, so see, it's not consistent. It's different. So we need that padding on 20 and left and right. You want to be consistent with what they call, it's called the gutter. All right. So that's that. Do we really need that padding on the top of 40? Okay, that's fine. I see what they're doing there. I thought it was actually in the widget here. There we go. You can actually take the padding completely out of that widget, but I don't think it does anything if I recall. Yeah, that's a MyListing issue. I don't know what they're doing there, but that is what it is. So maybe that's why what they were trying to accomplish here by taking the padding out of here, which is incorrect. But yeah, this padding should be able to be removed, but it's not without code. So we'll continue on. Let's go to this next section. Same thing. We need that 20. We need that gutter to be consistent. Let's click into the actual widget. Okay. You see how there's like this hard-coded superficial padding going on? That's not correct. I've had to fix that myself. We'll have to fix it here. So what you need to do is unfortunately, you got to go into margin, click this little link to unbreak the link, and then you got to do negative margins. And I believe it's negative 40. You see that brings that up. You just want to make sure I like to stay within a little bit of padding around Elementor's little pink box, that thing there. So negative 50 looks like it gets it done, and then negative 50 on the bottom. Okay, MyListing should not be adding that for us. That should be an Elementor decision, or us decision. Okay, so that's how I would clean that up, and I would do the same here. Unfortunately, you got to be really careful when you're using margins like this, especially negative margins. You don't want to bring the element up to where you can't edit the heading in this case, which we've now created. Okay, so let's go drop this back down to 40, and we should be able to get to our heading there. See, it's really tough to do. Can't really do it. That's why this navigator over here is really important. You can still get to your stuff. So if it were me, and this was my site, I would do -40 there, -40 there. I think that looks good. The spacing looks good there. We still can't, it's not easy to get to the heading there. You can, but over here in the navigator, we can easily get to it. Okay, so I'd come up here and I would do the same thing. Here it looks like a -30 is what we want. And then the bottom, we want to match that. Oops, sorry. Let's go -30 and then -30. Okay, that spacing looks good to me. Looks good. All right, let's continue on. Let's save our changes. Let's get down into this section, which looks like there's all kinds of stuff going on. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here we're doing 40 padding. Here we're doing 40 padding. 40 pixels, I should say. Here we're doing, by some strange reason, 100. Should be consistent. 40. 40. Padding on the left, consistent. Right. On the right, consistent. Padding on the left and right, consistent. That gutter should be the same all the way down. Okay. Hopefully they haven't done anything special here. Okay. Let's check this widget. Okay, that's good. All right, save our changes and let's go through mobile. Okay, in this case, they have added padding to the top. Let's take that out and just see what that gives us. Okay. So let's put that 50 back in there and see if that's what we want to roll with. If it was me, I would do 100% height on this. So let's take out that top padding. Let's try to do layout, min height, change pixels to view height. So VH, change this to 100. Get that full height in there. Then let's see here. We've got our gutter, which is accurate. That's cool. This is all good. So you got to go, when you do this, you got to then go check every single one of the elements and see what they did for those. Yeah, see, it's not how you do things. This is not manageable. That does not need to be there. Same thing here. You do not need 0 padding on there. There we go. See, none of that's changing. So they didn't need it to begin with. Okay, let's check this one. Same thing. Clear this out. You don't need it. Okay, if you want to bring this down, you can do that. There's multiple ways of doing that. Here we can bring this down by doing a margin at the top or a padding at the top. But again, now we've got, see how the hero's got no padding at the top, but our gutter is correct. But then you go into the actual container and then you've got something different there. So let's clear that out. Let's clear this one out. Okay, let's go to the other container. Let's clear out everything in there. So somewhere above they set, okay, yeah, I don't know why they did that. So in that container where the search is, they put a padding off to the right. Let's take that out. Let's take this out. Just a lot of unnecessary work that went into this. Okay, let's go back up to our hero. I don't expect you guys to follow along perfectly. My thing is I want you guys to see how I go about doing this the right way. Okay, so now that container on mobile is fine and that one's fine. Okay, so now you've got this huge spacing here. We've got to figure out like where is that coming from? It's not coming from that bottom container. It's not coming from this container above. Is it coming from this widget? No, but it's likely coming from this overall hero here and how this is all laid out. So we have that 100% view height. See how that's helping. So we want that, we're looking down the screen, right? So that's cool. That's what we want. Don't need to stretch. I don't know why stretch is selected there, but looks like we can't remove that. But because we're going down now, we now want to align the items in the middle. We can't, so we go there. And we need to figure out how to get this further down the page, right? So for that, we need to tinker a bit. There we go. So now we have that in the center, pointed down. We've got our justifying the content in the center. There we go. And take that off, or you can leave it on stretch, not the end of the world. Okay, so that looks good. Much better. Compare this to this. Let's look at their site. So so compare this to, this to this. Okay, it just looks more modern, clean, all that good stuff. So this to this. Okay. But that's the idea. You got to go through and you got to clean everything up. Now we got to go through each of these sections, figure out what's what. So here, let's go all the way back out. Here we've got different padding here again. I didn't catch this. So here we've got, I like to use 50. So 50, 50, just to keep the numbers that, 50, 100, 150, that sort of thing. We don't need to set a zero margin. Don't know why they did that. Okay, so 50, 50, let's go down here. Make this consistent, 50, 50. And if you want more spacing, I personally like a lot of spacing. So 100 is not the end of the world. Just make sure it's consistent. 60 is like a weird random number. So it just depends on the look that you want to go for, but I just go for consistency. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go to tablet. Just run through these again. So now we've got 40, 20. Okay. 40, 20. And you could keep those 50 too. There's nothing wrong with that. So if I cleared these out, you'll see that it inherits 50, 50, but we want that gutter to be in there. So that's what we want that to do. Then we want to do 50, 20, 50, 20. And same for here. Okay. 50, 20, 50, 20. Go down. 50, 20, 50. You don't need to get every time you switch to a different breakpoint, whether it's going desktop to tablet and then the mobile, you don't always need to get in there and adjust every single value, overcomplicate things. Typically what you set at the desktop is going to flow all the way down and look just fine. Okay, so let's check it out now on mobile. Okay, you see they changed it again on us. So let's just inherit. I think 50 and 20 would be good. So if you want to inherit it, you can click this little link and just break the inheritance. And then once that's in there, link it again and just clear that out. Okay, and that's going to give you that 50, 20, 50, 20, which I think looks just fine. Okay, let's do it again together. Click here. Okay, we see that there's a manual override. So what we want to do, just click this link and then clear it out. And that way we inherit it. Okay, that looks fine. One more time. Click the link. Break it so we have the inheritance. We're good. So let's save. Let's go back to the top and let's just review a final review. By hovering over these elements, you can see that there may be some special design applied to each one, like padding and whatnot. In this case, this is kind of like a pro tip. If you select this container, we could actually break the padding on this container to give this a little bit more breathing room. There we go. So that's nice. Save for changes. Continuing on, we hover over this first heading and we see that there is spacing at the bottom of it. We don't need to do that. Or we may not need to do that. Okay, again, why is there no padding on this? That doesn't change anything for us. Okay, if you want more spacing, then yes, you can come in here and you can now do that. So, and I would use padding for this. So you could put like 20 on the bottom. Okay, well, let's roll with that. Let's keep on going. We see that we have spacing here. So let's select that heading. Okay, we don't want to use margin here. We want to use padding. So let's get rid of all of our margin. Let's change the padding to 20 so we're consistent. Sorry, we only want the padding on the bottom. So break the chain, padding on the bottom 20. Okay, that looks like a little bit too much spacing for me. So I'd actually, for this one, I think no padding looks fine. Let's go back up here. Sometimes the element, it depends on this other element that's around the heading that, you know, defines how it's going to look. So that's too close. So maybe you do like 10 here. And then we could do a whole other types of videos where we get into is pixel fine versus percentage, right? You have all these different measurements, pixels, percentage, rem, view width, and so on and so forth. And that's about to get even different, I believe, with Elementor 4.0 that's about to come out. But for the purposes of this video and the audience, this is suited more towards the beginner of how this would work. So based on the element below this heading and what this heading looks like and the spacing, I think that 10 pixels is going to match up nicely for what we did with cars for sale here. Okay. That's all fine. I think we can live with all that. That's good. Let's check this heading. They've done nothing there. That's fine. It is looking a little close to this text. I'd put some more spacing in here. Let's check that text element first. Okay, there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and put a little padding below this. Do 10. I think that's fine. The other thing is for accessibility, that text does not look good. So we want to select that text and we want to use global styling in this case. Okay, you don't want to put gray text on a gray background. That's horrible. So let's change that to black so you can actually read it. And let's do this. Let's put the padding on the desktop. Excuse me, the desktop mode. So let's try 20. See how that looks. That looks good. I like that spacing. Now let's go down through from desktop to tablet and make sure that we're just inheriting. All right. So let's put this inheritance back on. Okay, let's save that. That looks good. That looks good. We can actually see that text now. I do not like this button at all. So I would just not get cute with this. And I would come in here. All right, the padding is fine. I can live with that. Maybe. Let's come back to that. Text color, again, you want to use global styling. I'm going to show you how to do that with buttons. So we go to Site Settings, Buttons. Okay, we're going to choose our typography. Now, if you had your global font set up, this is where you would choose your global font. So let's go back. Let's go to Global Fonts. All right, let's add a style. So click the Add Style button. Let's call this Buttons. And let's click on the little pencil there to set it. Again, we could get into all the different sizes. We're having more of a beginner to intermediate mindset here on how to build this stuff. I'm just going to do a 15 pixel button. I like to do a weight of either like 600 or 700, like bold buttons. So we're going to we'll do 600. So a semi-bold button that's 15 pixels in size. I like to do uppercase buttons, just me. So let's roll with that. So we've now got our global font for buttons. Now we need to go back into styling our buttons across the board. So we click into buttons. We now go and we click this little globe looking icon. That's going to pull from our global fonts. There we go. That's our buttons that we defined. Now, any button we add to our website via Elementor is going to is going to inherit these styles going forward. Set it once. That's all you got to do. Now let's set our text color. Let's go with, we don't have white in there. So let's save our changes. Let's go back. I like to open another page. Let's just do that. Open another page just so you have something else to work with. So you don't have to keep going back to your global styles. So let's open the add a listing page, get into our site settings, and we'll use this as our global styling. Okay, let's go to global colors. Let's add a color. Let's just call this. Actually, let's skip that. Let's go to accent here. Let's give this a color of whatever they're using for this blue. To find that blue, we can go to theme tools, theme options, and grab this accent color right here. Okay, let's give it, this is our accent color. That's cool. Save our changes. Let's add one more called accent hover. And let's put in that same blue color, but now let's go 10% lighter on hover. Okay, you can either do this with opacity or just change the color itself. We're going to do it with opacity right now. So I'm going to click on this RGBA option. I'm going to change it from 0.1 or change it from 1 to 0.9. That's going to give us a little bit of opacity on hover, and we'll see if that's good enough for us. The alternative option is you could just drag this little slider until it looks good for you, but I always like to get that precise 10% opacity. Okay, so we've now got our accent cover on inactive, or so hover and then non-hover. So now if we go back into our buttons, we can choose for our text color. We never actually set up our white. So for our button color background, we can set as our accent. Now hover, we can set it as accent hover and save. Okay, let's go back to our colors. Let's do let's call this, we'll just call it white for the purposes of this video. Let's give it straight white, save our changes. Let's go back to our buttons. Let's now set text color. Sometimes Elementor does this where you have to refresh the page. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. Global color, buttons. Text color, we're choosing our global color, which is white. So in case we ever want to change that white to something else down the road, we just do it in one spot. Okay, do you want to do a border radius around your buttons? You can do all of that within here. We're just going to leave it as is, update it, save our page, save our changes. Okay, now let's refresh this homepage. And they already had right here, you can start to see like that button was already styled that way, right? So let's come back down here. Let's go to this read more button. And let's give this more of a consistent, better look. So we're going to go style. And for our typography, we're going to choose, or we can just go and add a new button. So let's just do that. Let's go, it's faster. So read more, this would take you to some other page, which they haven't configured. So I'm just going to add a new button because that's going to inherit all of our styles automatically. So let's go button, boom. Let's go to style. Let's center it. Let's change the text to read more. There you go. And then on hover, you see that it kind of changes to indicate that it's hovered. It's not really that noticeable. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to delete this ugly button. Save. I'm going to go back over to my global styles and my buttons, and I'm going to change, go back into my colors. I'm going to keep accent and accent hover. No, you know what? I'll go ahead and do this. I'll change accent hover. Let's go back into RGBA, and let's change this from 0.9 to 0.8. So that's going to give us more opacity on hover, and should be more noticeable. Okay. Let's refresh our home page. There we go. See how that's more noticeable? That's what you want for accessibility and just for design. That looks so much better. Okay. What do we have? We're nearing the end, I think, because I'll do a lot of this in the background off camera. We've got our client stuff in here. Let's go into styling. again, like none of this is globally styled. You're very limited on options here. As far as styling this stuff, there's really not much that you can do unless you know CSS. So, but again, we're going to stay with what MyListing gives us and Elementor gives us. So let's see what we have here for a slider. Thumbnail, that's fine. Let's see if we do, let's do this car image. See what this gives us. So let's duplicate this. Oops. We need to duplicate this. How do I get more images in there? I don't really use this widget very often. How do I get more images in here? Oh, here we go. Okay. But the problem is I don't think you can't add a link. Okay. So I see why they use this. Because each of these, with this one, you can assign a URL. So that's not too bad, actually. That's kind of a cool widget. I just wish they'd apply some more styling options. So let's check this again. Image carousel, that won't do what we need to do. We can't do slides because that's not in free. Let's see what image options we have. So you could do a basic gallery here that just won't give you the sliding aspect. But if you don't need the sliding aspect, let's check that out. Yeah, see, you could do the link by the attachment page. Yeah, we'll leave that out. All right, so we'll roll with what MyListing gives us here. It's actually the best option, unfortunately, but we'll just have to style this up. So they've got a white overlay color. I'm not sure why, but let's go in here and let's add some images. Yeah, it's weird how it's repeating. See how it's like, because you can't choose how many to show per slide, right? So to me, that's almost unusable. Let's go here. Yeah, that's not good. Let's see how it looks on their actual demo here. Oh, it's because I see what they did. Okay, so what they did was this. They used enough of them in the slider. So let's put a new image here. So we did this one. Let's do this one. We need to add, it looks like we need to add at least 6. Okay, let's go. Let's add one more, see what we get. No, you need, because 5 of them are in view, so you need at least 5. Okay, that's what they did. Yeah, so that's not good. That's not good, because what if you only have 3 things that you can show here? I guess you can make it up, but it's just something to consider, because you saw what happens if you don't have 5. It's going to repeat. You have no way of controlling that. Okay, I'll think about that. Off camera, because this is already going really long. But you get the idea here. The idea is to, and this helps if you're going to build a new page from scratch, like how to build this stuff. Just less is more. A lot of times when I get in looking at these sites, and you go into like the style tab and especially like the advanced tab, you just start, here's another one. Like, we don't need this. We don't need the no padding here. People just start random numbers in here. Like, you'll see all kinds of different random numbers in here. And it's for no reason. Like, you don't need to waste your time doing that in a lot of cases. Okay. So that is, if you're going to build a new page, think about what I'm showing you. You know, it all comes down to saving time, making your site performant, because the more elements that you don't need that you add to the page, the more you're going to slow down your site. The harder it's going to be to maintain this stuff. But yeah, I'm going to still spend some more time fixing all of this stuff. And it's just more of the same what I've showed you going in here. This is wrong. Okay. So we're going to need to do like some negative padding here again. Okay. So I'm going to do that all off camera, and I'm going to fix all this up. It's going to be available as a template, and then we're going to continue working through this site together. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.